This is Casey Ferreira! And his opponents.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to the Performance Works at Granville Island, the site of NEW 11 Road to Redemption. Justin Morissette and Jordan Bowman coming to you from the Neil O'Brien broadcast booth. It is a beautiful, snowy day here in Vancouver. The fluff coming down outside and the action in the ring set to heat up as we got one heck of a start to this show right now, Jordan. Judas Icarus and Casey Ferreira locking horns, and if you're not familiar with Casey Ferreira, well, you will be soon. One of the hottest prospects in the entirety of the Pacific Northwest, and he is strutting his stuff in a singles contest for the first time in an NEW ring.
I can't believe the caliber of match we are kicking off with here at NEW 11.
Casey Ferreira, of course, one of four young talents who made their debut at the Commodore at NEW 10 in the Dream Match. Team Rottweiler versus Team Wrestling Personified. Of course, Eddie Osborne and Elliot Tyler leading a pair of rookies between them. Ferreira was one of them, but he does not look like a guy working his second match in an NEW ring. This kid has star potential written all over him, and we're seeing that right now. Though it'll take more to put Judas Icarus away, as he's able to roll out of that attack and hit Casey with a chop of his own.
Yeah, coming out of that match at the Commodore, a lot of discussion around some of those rookies that we saw, but none more so than Casey Ferreira.
Of course, Judas Icarus knows all about being that hot young prospect in Pacific Northwest Wrestling, which is not to say that he's an old dog himself. Judas Icarus still on the rise, trying to plant his flag and establish himself in a packed wrestling scene here in the Pacific Northwest. But he is one of our brightest lights, and Casey Ferreira would love to be right up there with him before too long, and he is on the fast track from what we're seeing right now. The athleticism on full display from Casey Ferreira. A middle rope springboard Hurricane Rana that will send Judas Icarus out to the floor, and I do believe this young buck is catching Icarus by surprise right now.
Oh, and it's not over just because he's on the floor.
Icarus now diving drop kick through the middle rope. Very impressive stuff from, I guess we can call him the veteran in this match, Jordan, but that is not the situation he finds himself in often. Certainly won't be the case next month at NEW 12, as Judas Icarus is probably looking at this one as something of a warm-up match for the fight of his life at the Commodore Ballroom on March 24th, where he is set to take on the murder grandpa himself, none other than Minoru Suzuki.
Casey Ferreira with an incredible tilt-twirl around that ring post.
Judas Icarus has to make it to the Commodore first to take on Suzuki, and Ferreira might make sure that doesn't happen. I'm not saying there's any intent to injure, obviously, but this is a hard-hitting contest already, as we saw from that lariat. But a big strike just got Icarus even more fired up. Now a pin attempt. Judas able to kick out at two, but he will roll right to the outside to try and catch his breath. As again, what a hot start from Ferreira in this one. Looking for a springboard moonsault perhaps to the outside. Judas able to wrap up his boots. And now Casey pulled, planted face first into the apron. Rough and tumble stuff for the kid as he gets dropped face first onto that ring apron once again. And Jordan, tell me, is that the softest part of the ring?
According to my notes here, that is the hardest part of the ring, actually.
And there are few harder hitters in this area than Judas Icarus. That big lariat nearly knocked the lights out of Casey Ferreira, but he's able to get the shoulders up. You can see he is laboring right now, however. Deep breaths for the kid as he tries to find his footing again. Won't be breathing easy after a chop like that, however.
Think about just the breakdown of experience in this matchup, because obviously Judas Icarus tuning up, getting ready for Minoru Suzuki. Him going up against Casey Ferreira, he's seeing that young intensity, that young passion in Casey Ferreira, which is what he's going to need to bring to the Suzuki match.
Not long ago, Jordan, that Judas Icarus found himself in the exact position that Ferreira is in here tonight. That kid trying to catch people by surprise just a few short years ago, in fact. He has certainly made a name for himself, but he has a long ways to go, and probably has a long ways to go in this match as well, as Casey Ferreira gets the shoulder up too.
Who can forget that classic match he had with El Phantasmo at the Commodore Ballroom in 2022, one of the matches of the year.
Taking on the king of the Commodore, earned himself the moniker the Prince of the Commodore, as El Phantasmo had a ton of respect for Judas Icarus in that one, Jordan, even if it was El Phantasmo who got the win. And in fact, speaking of LP, we're going to see him in action here later this evening, taking on Coco Flash, another hot up-and-comer.
Stat card tonight, stat card every night at Nation Extreme Wrestling.
Only bangers in this building, but the crowd very firmly on the side of Casey Ferreira. We're hearing some Casey chants early in this one.
Well, it's really easy to kind of misconstrue the intensity of Judas Icarus as some, nefarious acts sometimes.
He might need to go to that dark place if he wants to escape, not just with a victory against Minoru Suzuki, but with his life, in fact, as that one is going to push him to his very limits, and he hopes to do the same right now to Casey Ferreira.
Sound of those vicious chops echoing through the performance works here.
It's that kind of physicality that Icarus is gonna need next month.
Getting to see some toughness from Casey Ferreira. We know about his precision, we know about his speed and his high flying, but you see how he does in a fight here.
As much as he might not have expected this level of feistiness from Ferreira, I'm sure there's a part of Icarus who is relishing it as well, because he knows it's gonna be that much more difficult in what is going to be perhaps the most highly anticipated match in the history of this company, Jordan Bowe. Next month, taking on the king of Pancrase, the king of Japan. Might even be the king of the Commodore by the time that night is over.
That's what Judas Icarus does, he wrestles kings.
Right now experiencing some pain in the midsection. He got pounced by Ferreira not long ago. On to the other side of the ring. Icarus trying to wrench that wrist, and a big strike to the jaw. Maybe right even into the neck, perhaps, of Casey Ferreira. Another boot as he's looking up high. Offense targeting up top.
Vicious knee to the back.
And there's that athleticism of Casey Ferreira flipping into a gut-wrench sit-down powerbomb. Incredible stuff. And yet somehow Icarus kicks out to continue the fight.
Wouldn't have thought he had a lot of power moves in his repertoire, but yeah, that gut-wrench powerbomb is something else. Kid's full of surprises, Justin.
The sky is the limit. It just goes to show the excitement in the scene here in Vancouver wrestling at the moment.
Trading inside cradle pin attempts.
Wave after wave after wave of talents as each generation offers fresh excitement. It's Judas Icarus transitioning from a Hurricane Rana into a submission attempt that he's turned into a pinfall here, and Casey Ferreira somehow able to kick out at 2.
It's very much not a foregone conclusion that Judas Icarus is going to win this matchup. What's that going to do to his confidence if he loses to Casey Ferreira heading into his match with Minoru Suzuki?
Might put him in a dark place heading into that one, as both Ferreira and Icarus are in a dark place right now, and that's out amongst the fans outside the ring. Referee Mark Gage pleading with them both to take this one back inside the squared circle, and they do oblige. It looked like Icarus was looking for that lighthouse lariat. Ferreira able to reverse. Casey Ferreira with something of a lighthouse lariat of his own, and now he's going for the cover. Could we see the upset win? Judas Icarus keeps this match going.
I think now is when you're going to see the vicious streak of Judas Icarus come out.
We're seeing it right now. This is a guy who has been adored by these fans in NEW, but they might not like what they're seeing from him right now. There it is, the lighthouse lariat, bouncing off the rope into that massive clothesline. And Icarus cannot believe that not only did Ferreira kick out, he kicked out at 1. Let's see if he can keep him down this time. A second lariat. And indeed, that is the case. What a showing for Casey Ferreira. Unfortunately, he comes out on the wrong end of this one.
The winner of this match, Judas Icarus.
Justin, there were a couple moments there that could have gone either way.
I don't think it's just you and I thinking that either, Jordan. I think Judas Icarus was thinking the same as well, as you saw his demeanor change in a big way right near the very end. Ferreira pushing him to the very limit, and he might have had to go somewhere he didn't like to walk away with the win.